Hello everybody and welcome back once again for today's video of DIY investing. Over the last couple weeks, I've been noticing a very key similarity happening inside of Bitcoin's market that I'm going to be able to apply for the upcoming altcoin explosion that I'm expecting to see. Generally what happens inside of crypto is during the bull markets, Bitcoin will make its super parabolic run and then the alts will kind of lag behind as Bitcoin suppresses their value. Once Bitcoin finds a short-term top, all of that new money that entered Bitcoin's market now leaves and follows into some of these altcoins before they make their impulsive market cycles. Now, I wanted to point this out because there's something I'm noticing between the two charts that I wanted to be able to share with you guys today. With what I'm seeing now, it looks like we're heading for a very explosive time in some of these altcoins, and so I'm super excited to share with you what secrets I found. If you guys like my analysis and want to see more of it, do yourself a favor by clicking the invitation link in the description of this video, and there you're going to get access to my Discord server. Do myself a favor by leaving a like, comment, and subscribing to this channel for more updates in the future. Thank you all so much for the support, and with all that being said, let's get right in the video today. Welcome back everybody. So let's dive right into it today by taking a look at Bitcoin, because I really wanted to point something out with the consolidation that we're seeing behind the altcoins, as well as just the fact that Bitcoin always leads the market. And so Bitcoin's really going to tell us exactly where these other altcoins are going to follow to once we do get that short-term top inside of Bitcoin. Now, one thing that I wanted to note, guys, is the fact that all of these altcoins are either still in accumulation or just now leaving accumulation and starting their new bull cycles. And so with that being said, they're all following pretty much this same exact growth cycle as what Bitcoin is and has been doing for the last few months. And so the big reason why I wanted to point this out was because of the fact if we can see the market structure behind Bitcoin and we see kind of what some of these lower highs and these resistance levels that were being hit with this initial rally up, maybe we can look and do the same towards some of these altcoins. And so I really wanted to just point out a couple patterns and factors that go into play with inside of Bitcoin, because I do believe that this is going to be very valuable to watch for with some of these altcoins. Now, we're going to be looking at a couple different altcoins today, and then I'm going to kind of show you guys exactly what I'm thinking as far as where they could potentially go once we do start getting some of that new money inside of Bitcoin to flood into some of these alts. And so we're going to start off by looking at Bitcoin, right? Now, the cool thing about Bitcoin, guys, is the fact that we had this like 6K floor. Well, this is 6,500, but this 6K floor that held us for a significant amount of time in the bear market, right? And everybody, including myself, I'm not exempt from this either. Everybody kind of assumed that we were going to hit this resistance, consolidate below it, and then drop, or consolidate below this for a given time before finally breaking out. And that's just not even what happened. We broke through this 6K support or resistance with ease, and we've continued to impulse up in the cycle from there. And so really a lot of these altcoins are going to be following a similar trajectory as Bitcoin, if not roughly the same exact one. And so I really wanted to go through and analyze exactly what we could expect moving forward. So with Bitcoin, we didn't get our real first pullback until right here, pretty much. It was our first major pullback. I mean, you could call one right here, you could call this one in here. But as far as a significant pullback, we didn't start really seeing a major one until about right here. This one was technically even bigger than this one. If you do count the wick that came all the way back down to about 6,500, I think it went all the way down to 62 actually. This one technically would have been a bigger retrace, but it really doesn't matter because I'd count that more as volatility wicks because it didn't do it on Bitfinex's exchange. Now, from there, we've impulsed up. Now, from where we're at right now, guys, I was watching this major resistance at 11,500, and we're getting very close to hitting that, right? And so I'm looking at this, and this is going to be a very key level. I talked about this in my last update, so I'm not going to get into too much detail as far as what I'm seeing right now, but I'm watching to see if we're going to break out and reclaim this as support before we're going to go higher, or if we are going to find that short-term top that I've been expecting for quite some time now. But I'm not going to get too entrenched watching for a top. I'm just going to watch and see what the market gives us. Now, with that being said, guys, I wanted to go through and analyze the altcoins because they're going to be following this exact same cycle, right? And so if we go back here and follow the altcoins, let's drop this down just a little bit. Let's call our first major retrace right about here, because you're going to be able to see it line up very accordingly with some of these other altcoins. Now, watch here as we're going to go take a look first at Ethereum, and I'm going to kind of show you guys what I'm expecting if these altcoins follow the same trajectory as Bitcoin, what we could kind of expect, right? Now, the very cool thing about this is the fact that these altcoins are still just barely leaving accumulation or still in this accumulation. That's kind of what we're seeing here. Now, if you guys remember from watching Bitcoin when it was first starting its parabolic run, we had this very slow and methodical linear curve that was just getting more and more parabolic. And that's kind of what we're starting to see here with these altcoins. They left the very slow sideways consolidation and we're starting that upward parabolic rise. And I do believe that we're going to see that very soon with how parabolic Bitcoin has gotten recently, because Bitcoin's suppressing all of these alts right now. And that's something to keep a note of. But the big thing that I wanted to point out was the simple fact that if we go back and look at Bitcoin, Bitcoin is currently already at almost 11,500. It's at 1,100 right now. But I do believe that we're going to hit this 11,500 resistance and either break above or get rejected off of. But I do believe we're going to hit this. Now, the significance of this and the reason why I'm pointing out this pattern is because of the fact for Bitcoin to hit up here, this was a very parabolic run that nobody was expecting. Now, because of the fact these altcoins are going to follow Bitcoin, now I don't assume that all of them are going to follow Bitcoin. I do believe that we're going to start to see a distance where some of this institutional money is going to separate itself from some of these more shittier coins out there. But the bigger alts that have proven themselves, I do believe that they're going to continue up in Bitcoin's cycle. Now, with that being said, for Bitcoin to go all the way up to 11,500, it would basically be the same as Ethereum going all the way up here. And that's not a joke, which would be about $800. Now, a lot of you guys might look at this and just think I'm crazy, but I mean, these are the exact same patterns. I mean, they followed Bitcoin on the way down, and they're following Bitcoin on the way up. There's just a little bit of lag in between. Now, for Bitcoin to be at 11,500, that would put us at right here in Ethereum. And I do believe that we're going to see that. Why would these altcoins just not get parabolic when Bitcoin is once again leading the way and past history has proven to us exactly what happens in Bitcoin cycles? Now, with that being said, guys, I do strongly believe that we have a very real possibility of us hitting $800, give or take a few dollars. But this $800 mark is what I'm watching out for. Now, I know a lot of people have shorter targets. My first target was going to be $400, so that brings us to about right here. A lot of people have these shorter targets that they're expecting, and while I do expect these to be met, I do feel like most people are too caught up on the short term instead of looking at the big picture cycle of things, because this really is just very slow accumulation. We haven't even really gone parabolic yet. And so why would you be cashing out your profits at a low 400 when Bitcoin itself has proven to us that these things get very parabolic and they can and will surprise? And that's what I'm expecting here, guys. I don't think that we're going to mess around and consolidate sideways. I do believe we're going to go very parabolic in this. And so the best thing that you're going to be able to do in this time is just accumulate and hold for the big picture. I can't stress this enough. And the more that I'm seeing it with Bitcoin, the more that I would just want to be able to preach this bias to you guys. And that is a couple mistakes that I've made in the past has been that I didn't accumulate enough in some of these lows, I didn't hold long enough into the rally, and then I didn't take enough profits when it did rally. And so this is just something that I want you guys to be aware of and pay attention to, because I'm telling you guys, these markets are going to surprise everybody. Even some of these people that have been around crypto for a while, I guarantee you that there will be major surprises that will happen in this next cycle. And so really, why would you accumulate Ethereum down here? Maybe you accumulated it at $100. Maybe you accumulated it at $200. Maybe you're still accumulating at $310 now. Why would you get so wrapped up on the short term when this thing was valued at roughly $1,500 at its peak? That's something that I just want you guys to pay close attention to. Because if these things are going to go as parabolic as Bitcoin has gone thus far, then this $1,500 target is not that far off down the line, and I really do believe that. And I think that we're going to see, this is going to be the first real signs of that parabolic rise that we're going to see in these alts that I do strongly believe will take us to some of these higher, lower highs that we made on the cycle back down. Now, with that being said, we're going to be diving in and taking a look at a couple other altcoins that are following a similar price path. Now, next up on the list is going to be D.I.Y. Obviously, you guys know I talk about this coin all the time, and it's because I'm really excited about it. Anytime you see a market cycle setting up like the previous ones before, only this one's accumulating way longer. You know what's going to be produced from that. And so for this cycle, if it follows Bitcoin and we go up to this, 11.5 area, or what Bitcoin did, what I'm expecting with DigiByte is a flat run all the way up to about 4 cents. 4 cents is a good target that I would pick, and this is what I think is going to happen when these coins are going to go parabolic. As we can see with DigiByte, we just have a very slow accumulation, and it's just getting more and more expansive as we go up. You can tell that the degree of trend is increasing. You can tell that the pumps in between are getting more and more parabolic, and this is only going to continue to increase the more momentum that is built inside of this market. Now, when this thing does start to take off, I do believe that we will hit this 50-cent mark, because Bitcoin has hit about that same exact mark. And guys, you can even look at this to the dates. I mean, the dates are relatively accurate. This was the 18th of this was the 19th of February, I should say. And if we come and take a look at DigiByte, this would be roughly the same time. Yeah, 19th, 17th of February. Right at that same time was when these market cycles were formed. And so from a time frame perspective, these moves were made at the same time, right? And the only real difference is in the bull market, these altcoins are going to lag behind Bitcoin, whereas in the bear market, they're going to lead on the dumps a lot of the time. They're going to, when Bitcoin starts to dump, the altcoins are going to dump significantly more and quicker. And then on the bull market, it's just reversed. Bitcoin's going to make its run. Everything's going to go super parabolic. And then once Bitcoin chills out, that's when the cycle starts for the altcoins. And so you can break down Bitcoin's last bear cycle by the dates, and you can see the same similarities because all of these were following Bitcoin. So relatively speaking, they're going to look the same. And that's why we're seeing relatively the same fractals. I mean, with DigiByte, this followed Bitcoin almost to a T. This is almost the exact same cycle all the way through. You had, even though we didn't go quite into the same descending triangle that we did in Bitcoin, this is still the same accumulation where you have a parabolic run, a crash, accumulation distribution as you kind of look to assert market dominance, whether the bulls are going to take over. In fact, you get one more sell-off, and that's where the real accumulation happens, and that's exactly what happened with Bitcoin. You had the sell-off, you had the relief rallies, accumulation distribution, and then you had one final sell-off, which takes us into the real accumulation before we go parabolic, right? And that's what we're going to see with these altcoins. We're just lagging behind a little bit. And so there's a lot of people out there that will try and tell you that alt season is dead. These alts aren't going to make it. There will never be an alt season. And all I got to say is just look at what has happened in the past. Look at what is currently being manifested before our eyes in the now, and then look to place your bets in the now, because you do see what's going to happen in the present to coming future, right? And so that's the way I like to play the game. What I'm looking at in the now is the fact that Bitcoin's already ran up to basically this psychological resistance level, and the alts are just lagging behind. And so the alts, when they do get that momentum from Bitcoin retracing a little bit, they're going to do the same exact thing. And so watch Bitcoin. That's going to help you to decide where these alts are going to go, a good place to take profits, and then kind of go from there. Because, our first major resistance in Bitcoin, our first major sell-off in the parabolic run was right here. And so I would expect that to be relatively the same. I think we'll get a nice impulse, hit this resistance level, kind of reject, come back down to maybe, the 2 cent area, and then go back even higher before we do hit this major psychological resistance. And one other thing I want to note before I wrap this up is the fact that these things can get even more parabolic than you're expecting. And that's something that happened in the last cycle. Now, I'm not saying that this cycle is going to behave exactly the same, because it won't. But we did see a very similar pattern play out where we accumulated, we made this rounded bottom, we made our first impulse up to about the same exact level. We had our first retrace, which probably was close to 30% from our peak. 32%. So right around there, the same exact thing that we saw. And so I really would expect this to play out very similarly. I don't see why it wouldn't up to this point. But one thing I want to note is the fact that don't get so caught up with these psychological resistance levels in the previous market cycle. It's good to take profits, but I'm not personally taking profits until we break all-time high, because I do expect that to be the case. But I just wanted to point out some similarities that I am seeing between these two cycles. And so it is really important just to note, guys, that there are going to be good places to take profits. And if you analyze Bitcoin's current cycle with good places it sold off, you're going to be able to find the same setups in these altcoins that's going to happen. And so I just wanted to point these out for a second. The simple fact that this thing is going to fly, and predominantly a lot of alts are going to do the same thing. And so really in this time, don't get so caught up in the noise. Don't FOMO into Bitcoin. Don't sell your alts. If you were somebody that accumulated a lot of alts this entire time and you missed out on Bitcoin's ride, don't beat yourself up for it and don't try and FOMO in now. Just stick with your plan that you had in the first place. I can tell you guys, I wish I accumulated more Bitcoin. I wish I wouldn't have sold it at such an early point, but you make mistakes and you got to live by that. And so don't beat yourself up. Just wait for the next cycle, because guys, we've got like 3 years worth of profitable gains. You don't need to get so caught up thinking that you missed out on this short little move when Bitcoin hasn't even broke all-time high yet. So yeah, even though you don't get to buy so many Bitcoins as you could have, that's just life, and you're going to have to just deal with that. But the worst thing you're going to be able to do for yourself is beat yourself up and then FOMO and make irrational decisions based off of your emotions. So truly what advice I can give you. Next, we're going to be taking a look at Ripple, because once again, it's just the same sort of setups, right? So with this current cycle with Ripple, we're basically just seeing the exact same setups as the ones before. Now, one thing I wanted to point out with Ripple is the simple fact that this one accumulated for 10 months, right? 10 months is a very, very, very long time to be accumulating, and that's what I pointed out in my last video. About 314 days worth of accumulation, and now we're just starting to leave that accumulation phase. Now, it is possible that we get a retrace, come back down and retest the support floor, but for the most part, it looks like we're getting the first impulse out of that. So kind of what I'm seeing and what I'm expecting to see moving forward is I think we'll come up and we'll have a rally that'll take us to about 60 cents, and I think we could all the way go up to almost 70 cents at about 68. And then from there, we'll kind of retrace back down, finish out a little bit more of an accumulation before going back up into the next cycle, where things will get very, very, very impulsive. And the reason why I pointed this out is because you have a very simple pattern between this current cycle and then the one that we had in 2017. And I actually had the opportunity to make quite a bit of money back accumulating Ripple back in the day. And so seeing this same pattern play out, I'm willing to put I'm willing to invest a little now and then kind of hold for the long term, because I'm sure that this is going to play out very similarly. Now, what we saw was after the blow off top, we had our retrace, and then we went into this little double bottom formation. After the double bottom, we made our first impulse, followed by an ABC correction back down before we completed our second double bottom. And then that really started our first impulse. And so I'm expecting something similar, where after we impulsed, we came up, retested some of these higher wicks, fell back down, accumulated before starting the next cycle up. And so I'm expecting this cycle to behave similarly, because it's basically the same exact setup all the way through. You have this little double bottom, you had the first impulse. After the impulse, we have our ABC correction back down, and then we do the second double bottom, or triple bottom, whatever the hell you want to call it. It's really not meant to be exact. It's just meant to show you guys the rough outline of what the same pattern is. And so this is kind of what I'm expecting. Very similar accumulation, very similar setup all the way through. And so this is one that I'm watching out for Ripple, because it's just following the same setups as before. But not only that, for Bitcoin to go to 11.5, that puts Ripple specifically right here at about $1.20. And so that goes to show you just how much movement we're going to see in some of these altcoins and what I'm expecting moving forward. These psychological resistance levels are the same as what's going on with Bitcoin, and so with alts just kind of following Bitcoin but being predominantly suppressed with Bitcoin's rise, when Bitcoin tops out, that money's got to go somewhere, and I do strongly believe that these alts are going to suck that up, and with that new value, they're going to start their impulsive cycles back up. So this is what I'm going to be watching out for with Ripple. I think that there's some very exciting things going on throughout the crypto market as a whole, but these are my favorite coins that I'm most excited about, because they closely resemble Bitcoin, and you can point out the same psychological resistance levels. And it's not only with Ripple, it's not with D.I.Y, it's not with any of the other ones I've talked about, it's predominantly all of the major altcoins, all of the top alts that are performing very beautiful market cycles. Stellar Lumens is another one. You've got so many other coins that are just setting up to make ridiculous returns on investments with breaking out of some of these lower support levels that we've established here. So anyways, guys, this is what I had to share with you. I wanted to quickly run over and give you guys some patterns that I'm noticing over the last couple weeks and how you can optimize these patterns to really just fit for taking profits in this next cycle. And not only that, but just kind of seeing the big picture of things, because guys, we still have a long ways to go with these altcoins. There's still plenty of time for accumulation, in my opinion, before things go super parabolic. And so really the best thing we're going to be able to do right now is just look to take some of those positions, look to diversify, look to buy the dip with Bitcoin that I'm expecting to see, and just set yourself up, because patience is the name of the game when it comes to trading and even just investing as a whole. And so don't get so caught up. If you miss some of the Bitcoin rise, don't try and FOMO now. Just stick to your plan and hold through. Anyways, thank you all so much for the support. I will catch you in the next video. As always, peace out.